the way society is, and I feel like there's a lot more people that are a hell of a lot more promiscuous than they used to be. People aren't staying with one partner. People are having like open relationships. People, no offense, ladies, but are being a lot more thoughty now than they used to be. People are more comfortable with like divorce, and I just think that like relationships don't have the same
Standards.
standards. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Talks podcast.
Hey.
I'm so excited to be here. So I'm just jumping right in because I feel like I just have a mouthful. And
Oh boy.
yeah, so I just want to say that I was working yesterday and I just had this really weird moment where I guess it was quiet. I didn't have any incoming phone calls and I was just doing nothing. Like I was catching up on cases, but like I wasn't as busy as I usually have been.
Yeah.
And this random ass thought came to mind.
Uh
So do not judge me because it does sound a little crazy.
oh. Okay.
All right. And I'm going to have to ask you if you've ever had a thought like this. But so I was just sitting there and I was randomly thinking to myself, what if someone knocked at my door right now and the person at the door is my mom?
Oh God.
Like in live form,
What?
healthy, like if she came back from the dead, but in a healthy state, not like back from the dead in the last state that I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that came to mind, but
Mm.
it tripped me the fuck out for
I
the fact
bet.
that I even had that thought. But at the same time, it brought me so much happiness and joy inside. It was a little sickening
Yeah.
because it was like, we know that's not going to happen, Amanda. But it was like this random ass thought where it was like, oh my gosh, you can finally meet the baby. Like, I just got really excited. And then I was like, what the fuck? Snap back into it. What are you doing? Like,
Oh.
what? Like, it was, and I couldn't even tell you
Yeah.
what brought me there, whatever, just. It was weird. I think I've just been too busy at work. They're overworking me. My brain is going crazy, and I don't know
Oh.
what the fuck I'm doing. But
Oh.
I was gonna text you and be like, "Bitch, listen to this shit." I was just over here thinking about. But I said, you know what? Let me share it with her on the episode and share it with the world because I'm sure I can't have been the only person to have had some crazy ass thought like that.
No, I don't think it's like just something that like you've thought of. I don't know if I've thought about it like in that kind of like context maybe. But
Hmm.
like I definitely do think about it all the time in like certain moments where I'm like, damn, like I really wish that like I can tell my dad this, or like
Hmm.
I'll like picture him like in my mind and just kind of being like, okay, like this is like what we would be doing right now, like if he was here.
Right.
Um kind of kind of like a thought process.
Yeah.
That I definitely have a lot, and it's kind of weird that you say this because I've been having that thought a lot lately.
Mm.
It's just really been, like, heavy on my mind, and really just kind of, like, wishing that, like, he was here for,
Hmm.
not even, like, certain things, but just, like, in general.
Right.
I think it's, like, really hitting me that, like, he's not here, and it's kind of, like, low key making me want more.
Yeah, it's like it's an energy and a vibe that you're missing, and it's like, damn, I could
Yeah.
use a little bit of that person right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so random, and I was just like, but I was to the degree of like seeing her at my doorstep, like opening the door, like, oh my gosh, mom, like,
Yeah.
welcome back. Just like what the fuck. But yeah, I had to hit the road running on our episode this time with that one because I was just like, I need to get this out. I haven't even talked to my boyfriend about it. I just
Yeah.
was like random, just
A little trippy.
yeah. Yeah. I also didn't want to scare him either, I didn't want like, oh my gosh, she's on the verge of insanity.
That's true because it can look like that from the outside in. I mean,
Right.
that thought slipped my mind for maybe like 2 seconds
Oh,
until you started continue talking, but, it's those kinds of things that just, like, happen, like, when
right.
you lose a parent or if you lose someone, like, really close to you. I think
Hmm.
it's completely normal, but, like, to hear certain things, like, initially, it is a little concerning just because you wanna make sure that, like, that person is still just, you know,
Here.
understanding, like
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's still a aspect of reality around them, and
Right, right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all I have on that. I don't want to harp on that. I just want to let that topic go. I just had to get it out
Right.
and just share that. But
Okay.
another thing that was randomly on my mind, and it was a conversation that I had with my boyfriend,
Mm,
was around maturity.
okay.
So here I am washing the dishes. Who doesn't think while they're washing the dishes? Usually I'm thinking about the next 10,000 things I'm going to have to do around the fucking house.
Yeah.
But I randomly just thought about maturity and how I questioned if maturity for people is that based off of life experiences alone, or is that something that's with age? Or is it just simply a combo piece? Like, do you think people mature with age? Or is it like experiences in life that cause people to mature?
I think it's both, right? Because
Mhm.
when you get older, you experience new things,
Mhm.
you do bad things to, like, learn situations and, like, you don't touch, like, the oven because like, you learn, like, it's hot
Mhm.
and it hurts, and then, just, like, life experience and stuff that you go through, you become more wise, you get more wisdom,
Mhm.
and I think with wisdom comes maturity because,
Right.
like, if someone's never experienced certain things, then I don't
Mhm.
think that, there's that same, like, level of maturity,
Yeah. Right.
so I don't know, I feel like it'd kinda, like, be both things, like, put together.
Do you feel like it could ever just be one and not the other?
I I don't
Mm.
know. Like, just thinking about it, like, off the top of my head,
Mhm.
um I don't. Because, like, you can never have and maybe you can, I mean, there are some anomalies out there, but, like, I don't really foresee there ever being, like, a, like, crazy mature, like, five-year-old.
Right.
Like, they might be mature for their age, but,
Mhm.
like, when we're talking about, like, maturity, um, I'm thinking of, like, I don't know, I guess, like, a grown person who,
Right.
has been around, like, they have, like, a certain kind of, like, demeanor about them and stuff like that, that I don't think
Mhm.
that, like, a five-year-old would be able to kinda, like, represent, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if you can have I don't know if you can have, like, one without the other. But I guess a
Okay.
five-year-old is also doesn't have a lot of age, but then they also don't have, like, a lot of experience, so I don't know if, like, that's a good example. But it's also hard to think of, like, an 80-year-old who hasn't had any experiences.
Right. But an 80-year-old isn't necessarily a mature person. Because think about it. Look at social media, right?
Mhm.
And we're not going to go necessarily as old as 80, but let's just say we're
Yeah.
looking at people in their 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
I will guarantee you that you'll still see, I'm just going to use this as an example, and
Yeah.
not that it only applies to one gender, but you'll see men on fuck boy shit.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
So just because you're 80 doesn't make you mature.
Mm.
That makes you an elder,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make you mature.
Mm. I guess so, if you kinda, like, put in that perspective. So I'm guessing based off of this conversation that you do think that they are separate.
I think it's a combo piece. But when I was discussing this with my boyfriend, I found that I feel like mature
Mhm.
and responsible get intertwined sometimes. And I don't know if I would necessarily consider them to be the same thing because this is the example I use. So I personally have always been a very playful person, right? I'm
Mhm.
always playful. I'm always about the jokes. I'm always like goofy, like I'm all about a good time. Like
She
that's
get it from her mama.
girl, you ain't lying. I'm actually less goofy than my mother
Well,
because I felt like there were times that I had to be more mature
yeah.
than her.
Yeah. True
So
story. True, true.
she kind of snagged my spotlight on being the goofy one at times because,
Yeah.
everybody can't be goofy at the same time. Somebody got to reel the shit in.
Right.
And she made me reel my shit in too many times because she was just running with the goofiness. But I was thinking that I personally don't feel like I really matured, like felt like I matured until I got my own home.
Really?
And yes, and I feel like that because I feel like I've always been a very responsible person.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like just because I was responsible that I was actually maturing for all the responsibilities that I've carried. But I felt like when I got my home is when I actually felt like I leveled up. And not because of the possession of the home,
Mhm.
but the space that I felt like I was put in when I was living on my own, having my own space, not a shared space with someone else,
Yeah.
but being able to have that open clarity and like think for myself and not feel very influenced and
Mm.
again experience it just for me that's when I felt like okay, like I feel more mature. But then I also said in the same breath to my boyfriend that when we had our baby, I personally don't feel like that really matured me. I just felt like it added more responsibility.
Gotcha.
I don't feel like I'm any more mature,
Mhm.
which I'm sure I am.
Right, right.
But for just inner feelings, like I personally don't feel like I'm more mature. I just feel like I got a whole bunch more responsibilities on my list of responsibilities to have. So
Yeah.
that is what stemmed up the conversation. And will I say that I'm very certain in what I'm saying is all factual? No, I'm not. But
Right. Yeah.
it's just, thoughts that came to mind. And, at first he was like, oh, yeah, no, he wasn't really on the same page of like, you know, it was kind of more of like with age. But then afterwards he was like, no, he was the one who pointed out, like, no, there's dudes older than me that are doing crazy shit still. And
Yeah.
that doesn't make them mature. So again, random ass shit that was coming to mind, and it was just like, damn, I wonder what you think about that. And you know, for you being someone who knows me
Yeah.
very well, it's like, would you feel like I was any different when I got my home, or do you just feel like, bitch, you've been maturing along the timeline and you're just delusional?
I mean, I wouldn't call you delusional. I think from like an outsider perspective looking
Hmm.
into it, I didn't notice like a greater sense of maturity from the time that like you started owning your own home.
Hmm.
Um so I mean, I don't know. I don't think anything like particularly like stuck out to me, but if like that's how you feel about it, then like by all means, because I don't really think that someone. Well, I mean, I guess someone can tell you like if you're mature or not, because like
Well,
you said,
yeah,
if someone
from
is like, you know, older and still out here doing things like you're like 12, then
right.
you can kind of see that. But like,
Hmm.
I don't know. I guess I don't know if I would say, like, I thought that you were, like, more mature when that happened. I mean,
Hmm.
by all means, like, I was excited. I was like, "Okay, like, yes, like,
Facts.
this is, like, actually happening," and, like you said, moving into, like, your own place and your own space, like, that was a ginormous step, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
Because it's not something that you had, done previously, and maybe for me, like, maybe if you ask somebody else, it might be a little differently, but for
Hmm.
me, because I was probably already on my own for, like, what, like, 10 years by that point,
Right.
so I didn't really think, like, twice about it maybe just
Hmm.
because, like, that was, like, my normal,
Right.
so that might kind of, like, play into it too.
Oh, for sure. And then to also think I did also buy my home just months before COVID busted out. So no one was really thinking about like who the fuck is maturing and like all
Right,
that
right.
type of stuff. It's just, how are we staying alive? Do we have enough fucking toilet paper? And
Yeah,
it's stuff like that.
right.
Irrelevant stuff. But we're not gonna go on that tangent. But yeah, so there's different factors, but I can understand you having that perspective. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for allowing me to not feel delusional. Delusional, I was just being extra and dramatic as fuck because that's what I'm good at. So, delusional would not be the real word I'd use, but for
Yeah.
me being my extra self, I'm using delusional.
Well, I don't think you're delusional, but
Hmm.
again, I might be tainted due to my own personal experiences.
Not tainted. Oh Lord.
Um, but no, I mean, it
Anywho.
it it kinda brings up an interesting point because, like, when you were, like, talking about all of that and stuff, and I was kind of
Hmm.
thinking to myself, I was like, "Well, damn, like, when did I feel, like, more mature or whatever?" Because, like I said, I was living by myself for a very long time ever since I graduated college.
Look, an old lady.
Um, I know. Been around been around I've done this before. I'm
Right.
the OG here.
Yes.
Um, but no, I think for me, because my life story is a little different, I think I matured at a very young age. Um, and I think about this a lot actually, and I think that I don't know, you might not think this because, we have, like, such a good, close, strong relationship, but I do think that I am more on, like, the serious side, and I'm not as, like, carefree and, like, goofy, and, like, I struggle sometimes with knowing how to have fun.
Oh yeah.
Um
No, that's very evident for me to see as your best friend. So yeah, no.
Alright,
Who's the
so
serious one in the group? Cassie. Cassie.
um,
I'm
shut
sorry.
up.
Go ahead.
But I think that all of that stems from having to take care of my dad at such, a young age. I was doing that in the very early years of high school. So,
Right. Exactly. You
I
weren't even
think
a legal adult.
right, exactly. So I think for me that's kind of like where my maturity kicked in. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't really I don't know. So for me, I guess that's all about like experience because
Yeah.
I wasn't that old at that time. So,
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah, we know you're a little more serious at times, but being someone who's close to you, I can understand why. But also in the same breath of being someone who's close to you, I don't understand why still. Because you have me around.
I just think it's a really hard thing to, like, break out of because like, I think about
Mhm,
it all the time, and I'm like, I know because like, I'm older, but I'm not that old, and, like, I
mhm,
recognize that, but I'm like, I just have this, like, weird feeling that, like, when I am 70 or 80, I'm gonna look back and I'm be like, "Why the fuck, like, didn't I, like, loosen up and, like, have more fun
mhm,
when I was younger?"
mhm.
So it is something, like, I think about, but I still can't really, like, break out of it for like, I don't know. I don't
To
even
come
know
and
what it
shake the
is.
shit out of you again.
Yeah,
Shake
because
her,
like
shake her.
I don't know if this is, relevant at all, but, like, you know how, like, sometimes, like, we'll share, like, videos and whatever, or, like,
Yes.
how you would always, like, crack up at, like, America's Funniest Videos or whatever, and I don't think that I found majority of these things, like, funny,
Right.
and I wonder sometimes, like, is there something wrong with me,
Am I
or
broken?
like, are they really just, like, not funny? Because, like, you are on, like, the other side of that spectrum to where, like, you
Yeah,
are that,
sorry, I'm
like,
already
bubbly,
laughing.
goofy person and everything like that. So I'm just like, are you just, like, extreme and I'm just, like, normal? Or
Sometimes I am, yes.
am I, like, the extreme and, like, I just don't get it?
I honestly think we're both the extreme, to be honest with you. That's why we're yin and yang. We've hit the complete opposite sides. So
Right?
I'm gonna say that we're both the extremes. I've come off of my extreme side some.
Mhm.
I will tell y'all America's Funniest Home Videos are not as funny as they used to be to me. However,
Oh, man, y'all, she would crack up for, like,
girl,
hours,
you gotta
and
put
I
all
would
the
just
business
look
out
over
there.
and I would be like, "Amanda, like, that wasn't even that funny, like, what is happening?"
Oh, I'm
She would
the
just
worst
be
because sometimes
cracking
I'll
up.
think of shit that I thought was funny before, and it'll still make me bust a gut today, depending on how funny it was. But,
Oh my god.
but no, I think it's just we're two extremes when it comes to that. So no, bitch, you're not normal.
Oh, well, thanks. Oh, man. So I don't know what it's gonna take, y'all, but I don't know. I don't know how to have fun. I don't know how to
You'll get
loosen
it.
up. Even my boyfriend says it all the time, like, whenever we go on vacation, he's like, "Would you just relax?" And I'm like, "I
Mhm.
don't know how to." Like,
Like, tranquilize your ass,
it's really
goddamn.
bad. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take, but
Oh
I hope I
my
figure it out
gosh.
before I'm too old.
We'll make sure you get it figured out. We
I
got you.
need to.
Yeah,
I need
don't
to.
worry.
Yeah.
Damn, girl.
Mhm.
Prayers for you.
Gee, thanks. I appreciate that. Oh, man.
Anywho, I'm not gonna harp on your lack of looseness right now, so
Well,
I'm
appreciate
gonna let
that.
it go. I'm gonna let it
Mhm.
go.
Well, is there anything else on this maturity topic that you,
No, that was literally it. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit and catch a little insight from someone who's known me since the 90s. So, you
oh
know.
god. You know what's crazy? I actually just saw, like, an ad. You know, like, you get, like, Facebook ads or whatever for, like,
Hmm.
things that, like, they think are meant for you. Well, I saw one that it was like one of the T-shirts, and it said, like, "90s baby," and
Mm,
I was like, "That's really cool," but then I was like, "Fuck," I was like, "Mine would say 80s baby,"
yeah.
and I was like, "That just sounds, like, mad old."
Right now,
Like
yeah.
like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, no,
And I
it's a
was like,
problem.
"Okay, maybe I won't wanna rock that shirt," even though it's, like, the last year of the '80s, but it's like
Right.
I don't know, something about it just seems weird.
Right. Yeah. It yeah, because it's like being in the last year of the 80s, like I feel like we don't really fit in either. Because it's like I
Right.
don't personally consider myself a 90s baby because I wasn't born in 90. And
Mhm.
granted, myself, I was literally born 2 months before the year ended. So I was like, whoo, real close call. But it's like, I don't really feel like I fit with them, even though technically, yeah, we were babies in the 90s,
Right.
but I was really born. Yeah, one of those technicalities, you can't just let it go.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is.
We don't know where we belong.
We're just here in the middle,
We
stuck in
are.
between. But what do you have for us this episode? Did you bring anything to share?
Um, there's only one thing that, I came across, and one of, my other friends, I was talking to her about it, and I figured this is actually kind of like a good thing to mention if you guys were monitoring our Instagram. I did actually post something about it the other day.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you saw it or if you've heard, but I've actually been getting a lot of articles pop up in my phone, talking about this. And I found it really interesting. But apparently, right now, there is, I think they call it an epidemic.
Mhm.
And there's like a striking and concerning increase in throat cancer.
Mm.
Because, like, back when my dad had it and was first diagnosed, it was definitely one of the more rare cancers. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there for it, and not a lot of people had it, but now, for some reason, there's, like, a huge, like, spike in the amount of throat cancer cases that are being reported.
Which is
Um,
crazy.
it is crazy, and they're saying that it's, because, majority of throat cancers are stemmed from HPV or the human papilloma
I can never say it. Don't even bother.
the HPV virus.
Stick with the acronym.
And that is, typically stemmed from, like, oral sex. So, I have my thoughts, but before I say my thoughts, I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts on why you think that there might be this, like, sudden increase in these cases.
Well, um,
Not to, like, throw you on the spot here or anything.
eh, on the spot. I mean, yeah, I didn't have a thought as to increases, but you said HPV and then you said oral sex, and I was just thinking like oral sex must be on the rise and it must be getting hot and heavy. I don't I don't a little speechless right now. I don't really
I could
you
see
really put me
that.
on the spot, bitch. Damn. I was not fully ready, but um I honestly thought I seen something about the HPV um virus and about like things like against it.
Mhm.
Um but I'm not even gonna try to think about something that I'm not 100% sure if I've seen it or not. So I'm just gonna stop myself there. Tell us what you got, Cassie.
Well, thank you for that great insight. But
I
no,
can't stand
so
you.
love you.
Mhm.
But no, so honestly, me personally, and I'm gonna try to, like, say this without, like, getting too, like, offensive or whatever,
Mhm.
but I think because now with the way society is, and I feel like there's a lot more people that are a hell of a lot more promiscuous than they used to be. People aren't staying with one partner, people are having, like, open relationships, people, no offense, ladies, but are being a lot more thoughty now than they used to be. People are more comfortable with, like, divorce, and I just think that, like, relationships don't have the same
Standards.
standards, yeah, as they
Mhm.
used to back in the day, and I think because of that and this more fluid culture that we have, I think is definitely a huge factor as to why this is, like, this weird, like, spike.
Mm. Yeah. It's really sad when you like, when you list it like that, it's like, damn, like, there's really, like, morals and values are down the drain, but it's really interesting because I feel like I've met so many people that are younger than me that have already been divorced, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"I didn't even get my first turn."
Right?
In my first and only turn because that would be my intention, you know?
Right.
And I get that a lot of
It
people
happens.
have that intention
Yeah.
and things happen, but, um, I it's just not enough people go in realizing the work that is really required to maintain a marriage. Um, but when it comes to all the other situationships and whatever may be causing people to jump ships and go diving and things like that, I don't really have much of a comment on because motherfuckers is just nasty if you ask me. And that's just how I'm gonna put that. And I'm not saying it to offend anybody. What you do is your business. That's just my opinion. And you know, their opinion may be what we're doing is nasty, which I wouldn't understand. But you know, differencing opinions happen. But
Yeah.
that thought you have seems like a very legitimate reason as to why it's on the rise though, because people are really out there doing things and you see it on social media where people really have very little shame in anything. And I'm not saying people
Yeah.
should be shameful in what they do, but there's also boundaries where, you know, there's a lot that we're able to see to allow us to form these opinions on people. So
Yeah.
you know, if people weren't doing that, then you know, maybe you would have to make a different guess as to why it's on the rise, but I feel like it's pretty evident as to why it's on the rise.
Yeah. Well, and because throat cancer too, it's more common in men than it is in women.
Mm,
And I think also a part of the reason behind that is because I don't know if you did, and you don't have to disclose if you don't want to, but I
mhm,
know when I was a very early teen and this was like a new thing that had come out, and my mom was
mhm.
just like, "We're doing this," and I didn't
Yep.
really like know or think about it. It just happened.
Yeah.
But I did
Mhm,
get the HPV shot,
mhm.
back, I don't even know, I was probably,
Way
like,
back when.
13 or something, I was, like, super young. Um,
Shit.
but they don't have anything like that for men to prevent
They don't.
getting
It's
HPV,
only for
so
women. Yep, I remember that back in the day.
yeah.
I can't put a timeline on it, but I remember it back in the day.
Mhm. It was a long time ago, but I
Mhm.
just remember it being this thing where they were just like, "You have to get this," and it was just
Mhm.
like, "Okay," we didn't
Yeah.
question it like we do now with, like, the
Mhm.
vaccines and, like, whatever, it was just kind of like,
Right.
"You're doing this, and okay." So,
Because it was just very don't question what you're told from our parents' generation. So
yeah.
it was embedded into us. So it's just like, well, mom says I gotta do it, so let's just go ahead and do it.
Right. And for me, like, I don't mind, even to
Mhm.
this day, whatever, and if it's gonna help me prevent going through what my dad went through, then hell,
Right.
by all
Right.
means, I'm here for it.
Please
So,
minimize the trauma.
yeah, I probably just we won't get into that, but I wouldn't
Nope.
handle it very well.
Yeah, I
I'll
wouldn't
just say
expect
that.
you to. I wouldn't expect you to. So, we're not going to speak on anything that's not happening anyway. So,
No.
that's not a part of the future plan. So, that shit go in the trash.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But I mean, I think that's everything that I kind of just wanted to talk about and raise that because I thought it was really
Hmm.
interesting. When I first saw the article, I was just kind of like, well, why the hell is this like just like coming across like my lap?
Mhm.
And I was like, this is a little concerning because it's
And you mentioned it not too long ago in one of our episodes about how you were seeing more on shows about throat cancer being
yeah,
a thing. So it's just, you know,
that's
I
true.
hate to say it, but life imitates art.
Yeah. I mean, because, when you think of cancer, people think of lung, they think of breast,
Mhm.
they don't
Right.
think of really anything else that
Right. Those are
comes
the
to my
main, or
mind.
skin cancer. Yeah. Other than that,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, that's not a part of the major group, but
Right.
it looks like it's trying to move its way in there, but hopefully it doesn't.
I hope not. Hopefully that increase is just a weird blip and it goes back down.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oof. Well, thank you for sharing that because that is good for people to be aware about as well. So y'all out there who are, a little promiscuous or
Be protected at all
in
times.
engaging in extra activities, just be sure to safely engage in those activities
Mhm.
and you're not only saving yourself, but you're saving someone else.
Right. And if you're female, look into the shop.
Hmm.
Research it at least,
Do your research,
think about
definitely.
it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Cassie, our educator. I love Cassie's news. You always give me something that I really wasn't well informed on, and I appreciate that.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And you just gave me an idea. Maybe we'll start like a news segment or something.
News for this week.
Maybe. Kind of like my little like Cassie Chronicles thing I got going on.
Yes, yes. Let me
Ah,
be your intro person. Let me be your intro person before you
oh,
share the news.
okay. All right. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll work on this like, behind the scenes. We'll let y'all know.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, per usual, we always appreciate y'all tuning in to us for another episode. And until next time.
Bye guys.